There is a moment happening to your body right now that you cannot see, cannot feel clearly, and have probably been taught to blame on the wrong organ entirely. Your legs are heavier than they were this morning. Your rings will not slide off your fingers tonight. The indentation from your sock elastic has carved a line into your skin that refuses to disappear for minutes, sometimes much longer. You have accepted this as a normal part of aging, perhaps even a sign of heart trouble, because that is what you have been told. But what if everything you have been taught about this particular symptom is fundamentally incomplete? What if the real culprit operates in complete silence, unseen by the machines doctors use to diagnose heart disease, invisible to the tests that check your kidneys, yet responsible for stealing your sleep, stressing your cardiovascular system, and quietly accelerating every health problem you are already fighting? That is exactly what I am here to show you today. Subscribe to Dr. Elowen Fairleigh for health truths that challenge conventional explanations and reveal the biological mechanisms that doctors rarely take time to discuss with their patients. You know the exact moment I am describing. You come home and peel off your shoes to find ankles that look distinctly thicker than they did this morning. Your calves feel tight and heavy, as though someone has wrapped them with increasing pressure throughout your day. The rings on your fingers suddenly resist removal. You press your thumb into the skin above your ankle bone and watch it leave a white crater that takes an alarming length of time to refill. You stand up from the couch after sitting for just an hour, and your legs feel dense, weighted, almost as though concrete has somehow been poured into them while you were not paying attention. And when you mention this at a doctor's appointment, what happens next follows a predictable script. You get asked extensively about your heart, you receive advice to cut salt dramatically from your diet, you get handed a prescription for a diuretic, a water pill that sends you running to the bathroom throughout the entire day with relentless urgency. For some people, this helps a little. For most people over 60, it does almost nothing. The water was never in your bloodstream in the first place. This is the critical truth that changes everything. The water pooling in your legs, causing that pitting when you press your thumb into your skin, is trapped in your tissues. A diuretic cannot reach tissue. It can only pull water out of blood. So for years, perhaps decades, you have been treating the wrong compartment of your body entirely. Your doctor was not lying to you. Your doctor was simply working from incomplete information, just as their teachers taught them, just as their textbooks explained. Your body contains two completely separate drainage networks, not one as most people imagine. The first network is what everyone knows about, blood. Arteries carrying fresh, oxygenated blood outward from your heart, veins carrying used blood back. That system has a pump. Your heart. It runs automatically, relentlessly, every single second of your life, whether you help it or not, whether you move or whether you sit motionless. But the second network is where the real story lives. It is called the lymphatic system. And here is what nobody sat you down and took the time to explain. It has no pump. None. Zero. Your lymph is a clear, pale yellow fluid that constantly leaks out of the tiny blood vessels throughout your tissues. This fluid bathes every cell in your body. It picks up cellular waste, dead bacteria, excess protein, and excess water. Then it has to be returned to your bloodstream through a completely separate set of vessels called lymph capillaries and larger lymph ducts. Your body produces 2 liters of lymph fluid every single day, 2 entire liters. But those lymph vessels have no heart attached to them. They have no mechanical pump to propel fluid upward against gravity. They move only when you move. Think of your lymph system as a conveyor belt that only runs when you put weight on it, when you activate it through motion. Every single step you take, every calf muscle contraction, every ankle flex, every movement squeezes the lymph vessels and pushes the fluid upward toward your heart. Stop moving and stop draining. Sit motionless for 3 hours and the belt stops entirely. The fluid just sits in your ankles and feet doing nothing, pooling, accumulating, pressing against the tissue around your ankle bone. When you are 30 years old, this design flaw in your circulation barely matters. The lymph vessels themselves are elastic and responsive. The valves inside them are tight and crisp and work with perfect precision. A single walk across the parking lot restarts the entire system within minutes. The reservoir drains. The swelling vanishes. Your rings fit easily again, but after 60, 3 significant changes occur simultaneously, and the math stops working. The lymph vessels themselves stiffen. The valves inside them begin to leak. The tissue around your ankles, the loose connective matrix that holds everything in place, starts to lose its own elasticity and resilience. So fluid seeps out of your capillaries faster than it did before, and your system drains it much slower than it used to. The equilibrium breaks, the reservoir grows, and you are left with swollen ankles that a heart ultrasound cannot explain and a water pill that cannot fix. Before I continue deeper into the solutions, I must pause and draw a clear line between the lymphatic swelling I am describing and situations where ankle swelling represents a genuine medical emergency. You need to recognize these patterns and stop this video immediately to see a doctor today if any of the following apply to you specifically. If one leg suddenly swells dramatically more than the other within just a few hours, and that leg is painful, warm to the touch, and red, that can indicate a blood clot in your deep veins. That is dangerous. That requires immediate evaluation. If both of your legs are swelling and you are having difficulty breathing, especially when you lie flat in bed, if you wake up gasping at night, if you cannot walk a single flight of stairs without needing to stop and catch your breath, that pattern points to heart strain that has progressed beyond the early stage. That is not something to manage at home with any protocol. If your swelling is accompanied by sudden weight gain of 4 or 5 pounds in a single week and you notice foamy urine when you use the bathroom, that combination suggests your kidneys are letting protein escape into your urine. That needs blood work this week, not next month. If you have swelling only on one side of your body, painless, hard to the touch, and you have any history of cancer treatment in that region, that pattern can indicate lymph node blockage that needs professional evaluation immediately. But if none of these describe your situation, if your swelling is gradual and has developed over months or years, if it is symmetrical in both legs, worse by evening and better by morning, if you have no trouble breathing when you are at rest, then what I am about to walk you through is precisely designed for your condition. There are essentially 3 patterns of chronic lower leg swelling after the age of 60. They look remarkably similar to the naked eye, but have completely different causes and require completely different approaches. Pattern 1 is venous swelling. Your veins are struggling to return blood to your heart efficiently. Valves inside your veins have failed or weakened significantly. Blood pools in your lower legs. Pressure rises. Water is forced out through the vessel walls into the surrounding tissue. You will usually see visible varicose veins, a distinctive brownish or reddish discoloration on the shin just above your ankle, and most tellingly, the swelling gets dramatically worse by the end of a day spent standing or being active. Pattern 2 is lymphatic swelling, which is exactly what we are focused on today. Lymph flow has slowed because you are not giving the system the movement it requires. The tissue is saturated with fluid that cannot drain. The swelling is soft and pitting, it leaves a clear indentation when you press it, feels puffy rather than tight and tense, and often involves the top of your foot, the part that sits right behind your toes. When lymphatic swelling has been occurring for years without intervention, the skin on the top of your foot becomes so thick and fibrotic that you cannot pinch it between 2 fingers anymore. That is a clinical sign that physicians look for, and it points strongly toward lymphatic dysfunction, not venous problems. Pattern 3 is cardiac or renal swelling. Your heart is not managing fluid distribution properly, or your kidneys are not filtering and regulating sodium and water as they should. The swelling is symmetric, gets progressively worse throughout the day, and critically, it is accompanied by other symptoms. Shortness of breath on exertion, waking up multiple times throughout the night to urinate, extreme fatigue that does not improve with rest, rapid weight gain over days or weeks. If you have those accompanying symptoms, you are in pattern 3, and it is not something a home protocol can address. You need a thorough medical workup. Most people over 60 with chronic evening ankle swelling and no other concerning symptoms fall into pattern 2. They have a lymphatic drainage problem. Let me tell you about Dorothy, because her story illustrates exactly how this problem develops and how completely it can be solved. Dorothy was 68 years old, a retired school teacher who had lived in the same house for 30 years. She walked into a clinic one afternoon convinced her heart was failing. Her story went like this. For 2 years, her ankles had been thickening progressively by evening. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a tightness in her shoes. Then it became pronounced enough that she could no longer wear the shoes she had worn her entire adult life. She bought wider shoes. The swelling progressed further. She bought wider shoes again. She mentioned the problem at a routine checkup, and an echocardiogram was ordered, an ultrasound of her heart to check its function. The heart looked completely normal. Ejection fraction, the percentage of blood her heart pumps out with each beat, was 62%. That is completely normal. That is what a healthy heart looks like. But Dorothy was still swelling. She was given a diuretic. She took it faithfully for 6 months. She ran to the bathroom constantly. She felt constantly thirsty. The ankle swelling barely changed. She was exhausted, dehydrated, and still swollen. She finally said one thing to her doctor that unlocked the entire picture. The weird thing is, when I travel and walk around all day, my ankles are actually better. That was the clue. Her swelling improved with movement. Her swelling worsened with sitting. Her heart was fine. Her kidneys were fine. Her veins on ultrasound showed only mild age-related changes that should not have caused the swelling she was experiencing. What Dorothy had was a pure lymphatic drainage problem, a problem that no pill could ever fix because the fluid was not in her bloodstream, it was trapped in her tissues. Here's what happens to Dorothy's body every single day and probably happens to yours too. She wakes up, her ankles look thin, she has been lying flat for 8 hours, gravity was not pulling fluid down into her legs. Her lymph system had all night to mostly clear the fluid reservoir that accumulated the day before. By morning, she is almost back to baseline. She gets up, has breakfast, sits down at the kitchen table for an hour. She sits in her car for 20 minutes on the way somewhere. She sits at her volunteer desk for 3 hours. She has lunch and sits again. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, she has been vertical but mostly immobile for 7 hours straight. Fluid has been slowly leaking from her capillaries into the tissue of her lower legs the entire time. Her calf muscles have barely contracted. The lymph conveyor belt has barely moved. The fluid is just accumulating quietly, a teaspoon at a time, into a growing reservoir she cannot see but can absolutely feel. By evening, the groove from her sock appears where the elastic sat all day. By 9 o'clock, the ring on her finger is tight and difficult to remove. By 10 o'clock, she lies down to sleep, and now the real problem begins. All that accumulated fluid in her ankles, now that gravity is no longer pulling it down into her feet, begins to slowly reabsorb into her bloodstream. Her heart receives an unexpected flood of fluid, her kidneys detect the extra volume and shift into overdrive, producing urine. She wakes up at 2 in the morning. She wakes up at 4 in the morning. She wakes up at 5. By 6 in the morning, she is exhausted. The cycle begins again the next day, night after night, year after year. Let me give you 2 immediate tests you can do right now that will take 30 seconds total. These tests will establish your baseline so you can measure your progress as you implement the protocol. Test 1 is the pit test. Find the bony ridge that runs along the front of your shin, approximately 4 inches above your ankle. Press your thumb in firmly. Hold that pressure for 15 seconds, lift your thumb, and look at what remains. If there is a visible indentation that takes 10 seconds or more to smooth out and return to normal, you have what clinicians call pitting edema. Grade 1 is a slight dent that fills in quickly. Grade 2 is a deeper dent that lasts longer. Grade 3 is a deep dent that persists for over a minute. Make a mental note of what grade you currently are. You will retest in 2 weeks after implementing the protocol, and the change is measurable and clear. Test 2 is the foot skin pinch. Try to pinch the skin on the top of your foot, just behind your second toe, between your thumb and forefinger. Try to lift it into a fold. If you can easily lift the skin into a fold, your lymph is moving reasonably well. If you cannot lift the skin at all, if it feels like it is fused directly to the foot beneath it, you have what is called a positive stemmer sign. That is one of the simplest and most accurate clinical indicators of chronic lymph congestion that exists in medical practice. Now let me identify 3 specific things that make lymphatic swelling dramatically worse. Most people over 60 are doing all 3 of these things daily without even realizing it. The first is hidden sodium. I am not talking about the salt shaker on your table. I am talking about the hidden sodium that is already in the foods you are eating. Cheese, cured meats like bacon and deli turkey, canned soup, bread, condiments, restaurant food, frozen meals. Sodium pulls water out of your bloodstream and forces it into your tissues. Your body will hold on to approximately 4 cups of water for every gram of excess sodium you consume. Most Americans over 60 consume twice the sodium they think they do because it is hidden in processed foods. The second problem is sitting after dinner. The hours between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, when you finally relax in your recliner or on your couch, are the exact hours when your legs pull the most fluid downward. 3 hours of complete immobility after your largest meal of the day creates the worst possible conditions for the nighttime reabsorption and drainage that should happen while you sleep. The third culprit is alcohol. A single glass of wine in the evening dilates your capillaries, increases the leak rate of fluid from vessels into your tissues, and suppresses the hormone your brain uses to tell your kidneys to slow down their urine production at night. 1 drink and your ankles will be noticeably worse by morning. The swelling will be visibly increased. Now let me describe the things that support and enhance lymph flow. These are the substances and practices that actually improve your drainage. Water. This is counterintuitive to most people. Most people with swelling drink less water because they instinctively believe that more water means more swelling. The opposite is actually true. Dehydration thickens your lymph, making it sluggish and harder to move through your vessels. A well-hydrated body has thin, free-flowing lymph that moves easily. Aim for roughly half your body weight in ounces of water spread throughout the day, but taper your intake after 5 in the afternoon so you are not waking up at night to urinate. Foods high in natural flavonoids. These are compounds that strengthen the walls of small blood vessels and reduce how much fluid leaks out into tissue. The best sources are dark berries like blueberries and blackberries, buckwheat, citrus peel, and red cabbage. A cup of berries per day has measurable effects on capillary integrity over about 8 weeks of consistent consumption. Protein. This one surprises people when I mention it. Low blood protein, specifically low albir, is one of the silent drivers of tissue swelling in older adults. Albir is a protein that holds water inside your blood vessels where it belongs. When albir is low, water leaks out into tissues and sits there. Many older adults are mildly protein deficient without knowing it. 2 servings of high-quality protein per day, such as eggs, fish, chicken, lentils, or cottage cheese, directly improves the physics of fluid balance in your body. Magnesium. This mineral is deficient in most people over 60. It is involved in smooth muscle tone, including the walls of your lymph vessels themselves. Pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, and almonds are the easiest food sources to incorporate. Now I want to share with you the core of this entire protocol. This is the 5-minute habit that drains your ankles before bed. This is the centerpiece that creates the measurable change. Every part matters. Pay close attention. Morning. Before your feet hit the floor, while you are still lying in bed in the morning, do 30 ankle pumps, point your toes downward, then flex them back up toward your face 30 times. This takes 45 seconds. It restarts lymph flow after 8 hours of complete stillness and prevents the fluid from rushing downward the moment you stand up and gravity takes over. Daytime. Every hour you are sitting, do 20 calf pumps. Keep your heels on the floor and pump your toes upward and back down. Or if you can stand, rise up onto the balls of your feet and drop back down 20 times. This takes 30 seconds. It keeps the conveyor belt moving throughout the day so fluid does not get a chance to accumulate in your lower legs. Set a timer on your phone if you have to. This matters more than you realize. Before dinner, take 5 minutes of slow walking. This is not a workout, this is just movement. Walk around the block, around your house, around your yard. Walking activates the deep calf muscles in a way that seated ankle pumps simply cannot replicate. This is crucial. Evening, 90 minutes before bed. This is the critical piece that changes everything. Lie on the floor or on your bed. Place your legs straight up against the wall at roughly a 90-degree angle. Your heels higher than your hips higher than your heart. Stay in this position for 15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, do slow ankle circles, 10 circles in each direction, then do alternating ankle flexes, 20 total. Then, while still inverted in this position, place both hands flat on your abdomen and breathe deeply through your nose. Your belly should rise with each inhale. Do this slow, deep belly breathing for 3 minutes. Slow, deep belly breathing activates the thoracic duct, the main drainage vessel of your entire lymph system, which sits right behind your diaphragm. Every single deep breath is literally pumping your lymph upward. After 15 minutes, slowly roll to your side, sit up carefully, and do something unglamorous but remarkably effective. Starting at your ankle, use the flat of your fingers to stroke the skin upward toward your knee. Slow, gentle strokes, always toward the heart, never downward. Do 10 strokes on each leg. This is a simplified version of what is called manual lymphatic drainage, and it physically moves fluid from the tissues into the lymph capillaries where it can be transported. Right after this sequence, you will feel a sudden need to urinate. You will release 300 to 400 milliliters of pale urine. That is the fluid that otherwise would have woken you at 2 in the morning, at 4 in the morning, at 5 in the morning. You just drained it while you were awake and in control. Join Dr. Elowen Fairleigh as we continue to explore the biological truths that reshape how you understand your aging body, and subscribe for health information that actually explains what is happening beneath the surface of symptoms you have been taught to misinterpret. Dorothy followed this exact protocol for 3 weeks. By the end of week 1, her sock marks were completely gone by morning. By the end of week 2, she was not waking up at night anymore. She was sleeping through the entire night for the first time in years. By the end of week 3, her ankles at 9 o'clock in the evening were the same size they used to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. Her echocardiogram had not changed. Her prescriptions had not changed. Her heart was still the same healthy heart it had always been. What changed was that her lymph system was being given its work shift at a time that suited her life and her daily rhythm, instead of being forced to scramble all night and work overtime while she tried to sleep. The transformation is not subtle. It is the kind of change you see in the mirror. It is something you feel immediately in your shoes. It is the kind of change you notice the first morning you wake up without instinctively pressing your thumb into your calf to check the damage. I want to give you 5 concrete things to do tonight and tomorrow morning to begin this process immediately. 1. Do the pit test right now, today. Know your grade. Write it down so you have a baseline. 2. Cut 1 source of hidden sodium tomorrow. The biggest culprit for most people is cheese, cured meat, or canned soup. Pick the one you eat most frequently and replace it with a fresh alternative for 2 weeks. 3. Before dinner tonight, take a 5-minute walk. Not later in the evening, before dinner. 4. 90 minutes before bed. Lie with your legs up the wall for 15 minutes. Do deep belly breathing for 3 of those minutes. Do 10 upward strokes on each calf when you get up. 5. Tomorrow morning, do 30 ankle pumps before your feet hit the floor. Do this entire protocol for 2 weeks. Retest the pit test. You will be genuinely startled by the change. Consider sharing this information with someone you love whose ankles swell by evening. They have almost certainly been told it is their heart. They have almost certainly been handed a pill that does not address the real mechanism. You may give them the explanation nobody bothered to give them. Your ankles are not betraying you. They are a drainage system that stopped getting the signals it needed to run properly. Give it 5 minutes per day, and the difference is measurable, observable, and persistent. It changes not just how your body feels, but how your nights unfold, how you sleep, and how you wake. That is what happens when you actually address the real problem instead of treating symptoms with pills that cannot reach the tissues where the problem lives.